This is one of the reasons why I hate the NFL offseason.
Really?
There's no football. Right now in free agency, there's lack of news, and when you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they tend to not really do much.
No, it's every year it's a pretty expected but yet somewhat frustrating offseason when it comes to Steelers fans because we all know they don't do much. They more so sign camp bodies or slight debt pieces, then build their way into the draft, which in previous years, I mean, I can't say it hasn't worked out, but when it came to this year, this was a very important offseason after a very underwhelming and disappointing end to last year's season. Coming into this offseason, it was very important, just because of how many free agents we had, our cap situation, and, of course, Ben's future, as well as Pouncey's future. Pouncey, of course, retired, as you guys know. Ben is coming back, as you guys should know. Ben is coming back under a new deal. He was set to make $19 million with a $41 million cap hit. Now he's only going to make $14 million with a $25 million cap hit. So, thus we save, if I can get my math straight,
I think it was about $15 million.
16 million
in cap.
Saved. So,
yeah. And we also add 4 voidable years to that contract, so there's that.
Right.
So, Ben gets a new contract and helps us with our cap space.
Which obviously put us under the cap after we were over the cap. And we obviously created more cap space with restructures of Cameron Hayward and Derek Watt. And, of course, some releases, which we might as well get into right now. The releases, some of the losses that the Steelers had, we'll get into the free agents that we lost to other teams. But we're going to start with the releases since we're on the cap situation now. The Steelers released Vince Williams, which saves the Steelers $4 million in cap. Now, seeing a guy like Vince Williams leave is pretty saddening because a guy like him and his story is one of those things that we love to see. He was a 6th-rounder out of Florida State, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, and he built his way up to a starting role after being a special teams ace. After Timmons left, he came up and became a starting role alongside Shazier and eventually Bush, and was a dominant force in the Steelers' rushing defense and even the pass rush. So seeing a guy like Vince Williams leave kind of sucks.
It definitely does suck. He was a very charismatic guy on and off the field. The guy was pretty talented. The way he worked his way up from a special teamer to an every down starter pretty much.
Right.
It's encouraging and it's great. And that Vince Williams was able to do that, but the fact that he's leaving, it does hurt.
And arguably leaves a void at inside linebacker. We have Bush coming back, but who's our number 2? We'll get into that discussion a little later.
Yeah.
Another release we made, which was pretty controversial just because of we don't know what led to this. Steven Nelson. Now, originally he was placed on the trade block, but obviously he had no takers. Thus, the Steelers had to release him, which saved $8.25 million in cap.
Right.
Now, the reason why I say this is controversial is because, again, we don't know what led to this. Now, there were talks where, maybe Nelson wanted a heavy extension, but of course we couldn't afford it at the time. Or maybe the Steelers came to Nelson and talked to him about possibly a cheap extension to gain, more cap, because there were talks maybe we extend Nelson and or Hayden to balance out their cap hits for the next 2 years and create more cap for us this year. That didn't happen for either. And, of course, the activity on Twitter from Steven Nelson was a little weird because after Schefter announced that the Steelers gave Nelson permission, which I believe is key there, they gave Nelson permission to seek a trade. He would later put out a few minutes later, blessing in disguise, which was weird.
It was really weird. And he posted another tweet, something along the lines like, a couple days later, actually, that he said, don't hold me down or stop holding me down.
Like he was held hostage or something, which is weird because we're the ones that gave him permission to seek a trade. But yeah, he's saying he's being held hostage.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. But there was also talks where this was nothing more than just a cap casualty issue. Like there was no bad blood whatsoever between the Steelers and Nelson. This was purely cap casualty. But they tried to get some out of him. Obviously, teams knew we were just going to release him.
There was no point on trading anything, even if it was for a mid-round pick. There's no point. And the guy's going to be a free agent. Might as well just sign him cheap there.
Right, and I believe he's still a free agent. But the issue with that, the issue with Steven Nelson being nothing more than a cap casualty is cryptid tweets, that he put out.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, if this was just a cap casualty, why the hell did the Steelers do this so late? Why the hell did they wait so long to put Nelson on the trade block or cut him? They couldn't do this a month earlier. Can you imagine the guys we could have kept? A guy like Mike Hilton, who went to the Bengals. We could have kept a guy like Mike Hilton.
Yeah.
This is something we talked about a few months prior to free agency, actually. Maybe we trade or release Nelson, which saves us cap, and we're able to retain Hilton. That didn't happen.
No.
If this was nothing more than a cap casualty, why did they wait so long? The timing of this is just very, very odd and quite stupid.
It is stupid, especially on the Steelers side. Like, it doesn't make any sense. If you were going to simply cut him, you should have done it probably as soon as free agency hit.
Really?
Instead, you didn't, and you waited, and we lost a guy like Mike Hilton. Now, there's a hole in our slot corner position.
Right.
Now, you could keep Sutton there since we've assigned him and have maybe Justin Lane get ready and start out there since he's been developing for 2 years. Or you could have another undrafted guy like James Pierre who showed a lot of potential. Even after everything that happened with the pandemic last year, he was somehow able to make the 53-man roster.
As undrafted free agent, even got starting time over Justin Lane in that playoff game against the Browns.
So maybe they give him the opportunity, but they're kind of unproven. Now, a way to see if an undrafted guy is proven is obviously to throw him in there. So maybe they do that. I don't know. They kind of did with Mike Owen, and look how he turned out.
Yes.
And now he just got the bag from the Bengals. So it's something that they could do. But with Nelson, if they were going to do this regardless, they should have done it immediately.
Yes.
But they didn't.
Otherwise, they now just lost probably the best slot corner in the league. So, and again, like you said, that puts a void in our slot corner position, or our defensive back position in general.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into, all that stuff, we might as well talk about the actual losses. Obviously, like we said, Williams and Nelson were cut, which saved the Steelers about $12.25 million a cap total. Bud Dupree, he signed a, believe this, 5-year, $82.5 million deal with the Tennessee Titans.
He got the bag. And rightfully so. The guy, early in his year, in his career with the Steelers, we were very critical of the man. The guy wasn't consistent. The guy had pass rush talent, but he just could not get it done.
Yes.
But in the past 2 years, the guy was probably one of our best defensive players on the field.
He was our second best pass rusher. He complemented T.J. Watt perfectly. Like, they were the best outside linebacker pass rush duo in the league.
No doubt, man. Those two were so inseparable. And I really wanted Bud to stay, but deep down I knew realistically he was not going to stay, especially with the deal that he got from the Titans.
And there was no way we were going to afford that. And if we were able to, then how would we be able to afford a guy like T.J. Watt next year or a Minka in a few years? You know what I mean?
Or even Devin Bush down the road potentially.
So I know as much as it sucks to see Bud go and as much as we would love to keep him, it was just financially impossible for now and for the future of some of our more important stars. Like I said, Watt or Minka. Or like you said, Bush. So it sucks to see Bud go. I love his journey. I love his his come up.
His growth, man. The growth he got, man, is incredible.
It was fun to watch. And it sucks to see the way he went out was with a damn torn ACL.
Yeah, it really sucks that way. Especially a way like that, it hurts.
Yes, it does.
And he was on his way to a Pro Bowl year, no doubt. He should have went to the Pro Bowl regardless, but we all know the Pro Bowl is just a popularity contest nowadays. But Bud Dupree got the bag, and he goes to a team that desperately needs pass rush help. So both groups,
parties are just they're yeah. I think they're gonna benefit a lot from this.
Yeah, Bud gets the bag, and Tennessee gets a great pass rusher. So best of luck to Bud Dupree.
And Tennessee pays him like a defensive end. There were talks last year when Bud got the franchise tag that he wanted to be paid like a defensive end other than a outside linebacker. Now, I think the NFL should just combine it since they're both equally edge rushers.
Yeah.
So why have a different payment for outside linebacker or defensive end? They're both edge rushers. You might as well combine the actual franchise tag pay. Bud wanted to be paid like a defensive end. Now he gets that. Good for Bud. I'm happy for Bud. Going to miss him in the black and gold, man. But Alex Highsmith is his time to step up, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Bud Dupree,
it sucks losing you, but best of luck to you down in your future, man.
Definitely.
In Tennessee, I'm sure you will love this man.
Same thing goes for Matt Feiler. Signed a 3-year, $21 million deal with the Los Angeles Chargers. He is reunited with Sean Sarrett, who I believe is the Chargers' assistant offensive line coach. Good for Matt Feiler. He's another good come-up story. Undrafted, came from a small school. He was another great project from Mike Munchak. He's better as a tackle than a guard. We all know that. I don't know where the Chargers are going to set him, but Feiler is gone. He gets a good payday for himself, and the way he's worked up, I got to say he's deserved it as well. So
he definitely has with how he's come up, and Justin Herbert gets a pretty reliable, I'd say, offensive lineman to protect him.
For sure. Mike Hilton signed a 4-year, $24 million deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, one key note to add here is he makes, I believe, $8.5 million in his first year. But again, like we said with Steven Nelson, if he was nothing more than a cap casualty, like many people are saying, why didn't they release him a month sooner? That way we could have kept a guy like Mike Hilton.
Right.
That's just me.
Right, I agree. But, he in the Bengals of all teams,
I know. That's just a little weird. The fucking Bengals of all teams. Excuse my language.
Listen, I'm glad he's got the bag. He's definitely deserving of it. And again, just like Dupree and Filler, another great come-up story with how the growth he got, man.
Yeah.
I remember, initially hearing his story. He was about to work at Foot Locker or something.
Yes.
But then the Steelers gave him a call, and the journey that Mike Hilton got.
And this dude became Senquez Golson before Senquez Golson could even get on the freaking preseason field.
Pretty much.
Good for Mike Hilton. Very happy for him. But it's just weird he went to the Bengals of all teams.
I know.
There's not any other team that offered him more. I don't know.
I will say this. I hope Mike Hilton does find success with the Bengals, just not against us.
No.
So we'll see. We'll see you 2 times this upcoming season and 3 years later.
Right. Now, I guess one more to add here is actually just today on April Fool's Day.
And I don't know if anybody really cares, but we might as well just put it in there because it's news, and it is a Steelers loss. Sean Davis does sign a 1-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts.
Now, one interesting to note here is as of yesterday, there's no deal yet. I might refresh Twitter very shortly just to see if there is news. The Steelers brought in free agent safety Carl Joseph for a visit, which I actually like this news. I think he'd be a great add. We need safety depth. Sean Davis is gone. We have no safety depth. Antoine Brooks, sure, I guess, but he's coming into a second year as a late-round selection. We need safety depth, someone with starting experience. First-round talent, and Carl Joseph, he was 14th overall, I believe, in 2016. Mike Tomlin loved the heck out of Carl Joseph. So I would like us to bring him in as safety depth, as insurance, possibly even work as a dimebacker role in this defense.
Yeah, I love it. We need depth. He's very talented. I think he's very underrated. I'd
say so. Now we all know.
As a depth piece, sign the man.
I'm going through Twitter right now, see if there's any news, and there is not. But if the Steelers do happen to sign Carl Joseph before this is uploaded, our initial thoughts are good signing. Glad to have him, and he's great safety depth.
Yeah, simple.
Right there. So
you can follow us on Twitter at SteelTwins.
Yes, which we will have initial thoughts and even updates on the channel. If you guys are wondering why this is being uploaded so late, is because we were just waiting patiently to see if the Steelers would make any more moves, which they did. Some were odd, some are weird. But we were waiting to see when they would finish up free agency before coming out with this video and then eventually our next mock draft. We just got too impatient. We had to get this video out so we can get our next mock draft out. It's officially draft month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
But regardless, those are the Steelers' losses.
And some are tough, but the bright side about most of them is they should lock up about 3 or 4. I'd say possibly the max number of comp picks next year for next year's draft, which would be great. Mm-hmm. Possibly some early picks. Bud might give us a third. Feeler might give us actually, I think Feeler's disqualified now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hilton might give us a 5th or a 6th. Just to add there, but
yeah, we should get a pretty decent amount of comp picks next year, which would benefit us a lot
for sure
for next year's draft.
So that's something to add there. It's just those are some very tough losses. We all knew Bud Dupree was expected.
And we knew we were going to lose some pretty decent free agents. Some starter caliber guys, obviously, especially on the defense side of the football.
Right.
But
Mike Hilton is probably the only one that's really crushing to me when it comes to those guys, because we all knew Dupree was leaving. I don't think anyone really truly cared if Feeler stayed or not. Now, if they put him at tackle again and have him compete with Chuck, sure, then that's fine. Or Chucks or Banner, maybe. But obviously that's not happening. But it's pretty tough losses, like you said, on the defensive side of the ball. Mike Hilton's the only one that's really crushing to me because I think he was a game changer on that defense. And I will note this right here, right now. Losing Bud and Hilton does hurt this defense. I feel like this defense will, it'll take a drop a little bit. it'll still be fine. The guys we're going to have in place will, they'll still do admirable jobs. They'll still do fine. The defense will be fine, especially if we actually get a rushing game going. That'll take them off the field as much as, previous years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and let's not forget Vince Williams, of course, and Steven Nelson. But
yeah, the defense will have a significant drop of what they used to be, but I think it'll still be fine. I think the players that will step up will still hold their end of the bargain.
But
I really do.
But we are losing some pretty serious starters. Now, like we said, we're going to have some guys in there that will do just fine. Defense will be fine, but don't be surprised if the defense takes a little bit of a drop next year. That's just something I'm going to add there.
We'll just wait and see.
Now, as for the Steelers' free agency re-signs and additions, we're going to start with the re-signs first, of course. The Steelers bring back center J.C. Hasenauer, linebacker Marcus Allen, outside linebacker Cassius Marsh, which I guess edge depth, which we needed.
Yeah.
Wide receiver Ray McLeod, inside linebacker Robert Spillane, which is big because he could be the starter opposite of Bush if we don't go inside linebacker in the draft or early in the draft. Punter Jordan Berry, and they even re-signed B.J. Finney, center B.J. Finney, to a one-year deal.
All the one-year deals.
So most of them are pretty depth signings. J.C. Hasenauer is a depth signing. He might not even make the roster at this point with the addition of B.J. Finney back. B.J. Finney's probably going to be the week one starter because I'm sure the Steelers are going to draft a center early, which they have to now. Pouncey retired. You're not going to trust B.J. Finney all 16 games.
No, definitely not. You definitely have to go out your way in the draft and find a successor for Pouncey.
Yes, which they're going to do, but I'm sure him and B.J. Finney are going to have a little bit of a camp battle, position battle there for the starting role, but I'm sure Finney will get it just because he's familiar with the offense with Ben. Ben's probably a little bit more comfortable with B.J. Finney snapping him the ball initially, and then we'll get into Rook there.
Right.
So hopefully that's probably will mostly occur. Robert Spillane, like we said, is a big add here because he might be the starter opposite of Bush if we don't address inside linebacker in the draft. Something to add there.
Yeah.
As for the other guys, Raymond McLeod, return specialist, could see some time in pre-snap motion in Matt Canada's system. Cassius Marsh is outside linebacker, edge depth, which we desperately needed because we have none. Marsh isn't the best whatsoever.
And another loss, we forgot to write this down. Danny went to the Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
So we needed to bring back an edge guy, and I guess Marsh is that guy.
Yeah.
Not big on the man, but he's just simply depth.
Right. At least he has experience, I guess. Cameron Sutton resigns with the Steelers on a 2-year, $9 million deal with, I believe, what was it, 3 voidable years? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Or they added 3 voidable years to the contract.
Yes.
So it's something that we needed to do because we didn't know what was going to happen with Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton was the more familiar name when it came to free agency. And Sutton, a very underrated talent, a guy that could definitely get more opportunities. And with Nelson being released, could be seeing time outside.
Which is where I put him. And I think that's what we can all expect, Sutton to be moved outside. He deserves it. He deserves the bigger role in this defense. He's been one of the very, 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 very rare homegrown drafted talents from the Steelers that has actually done well at the cornerback position.
Yeah.
And he's even earned a second contract, 2-year deal, $9 million. He'll probably be the starter opposite of Hayden outside, and he can prove his worth there, possibly get an even better deal in the next few years, possibly even next year. So good to keep Cameron Sutton, very great underrated talent for this defense. Good playmaker, man. You could probably even say he's more of a playmaker than Mike Hilton is. Honestly.
Probably, yeah. I'm really excited to see the future of Cameron Sutton. The guy, and again with his growth,
right,
with how he was developed. Again, all the defense backs that I don't even have to name. We all know how they miserably failed.
Right.
Sutton's definitely turned out great, and I'm excited for him.
I definitely wouldn't expect him to just remain outside, though. He could probably be put in the slot in some sub packages.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll use his versatility to work outside or slot or dime packages, whatever.
As they should.
Yeah.
Now, another re-sign, which I'm sure every Steelers fan expected. Now, the cost is a little bit more interesting because now if you look at the numbers specifically, he's making more than Cameron Sutton. The offensive line is an obvious big position we need to address in free agency and in the draft.
It's a position we need to fix.
They kind of addressed it in free agency. They re-signed Zach Banner to a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. This is a guy that's only had 2 career starts. He was given that type of money. And this is a guy coming off an ACL injury.
And the fact that he did get that type of contract and money goes to show, without a doubt, he's starting.
He is starting.
Whether that happens at left tackle or right tackle is yet to be seen, because it's been reported that Villanueva was like about to sell his house or something, or put his house up for sale. But the Steelers told him to hold off on that because apparently they're looking to try to resign him. If I'm the Steelers, I'm not doing that.
No.
Villanueva is not the player he used to be. He's only going to age, and we need to keep this offensive line young. We really do. Now, if they do resign Villanueva, I don't know with what money right now. How much money do we got right now?
I can't tell you. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I never know.
Well, regardless, if we do resign Villanueva, right, I assume he's going to stay at left tackle, and then Banner and Chucks are going to battle at right tackle. So it's pretty much going to be the same offensive line, except Pouncey's not going to be there.
Essentially, yes.
Now,
and Dotson will be the full-time starter left guard.
Now, if I'm the Steelers, I'm not doing that. I'm revamping that whole offensive line. I'm getting the line young because you need to, especially with having a 39-year-old Big Ben coming back. You need to have young, talented offensive line. You need to keep the line young. The line is aging. You need to keep it young.
That's kind of what they're doing. And I say kind of because, first of all, they brought B.J. Finney back. He'll probably be the Week 1 starter temporarily before they put in the rookie. You assigned Zach Banner to a very interesting contract, which I don't agree with. I agree bringing him back as possibly giving him a competition with Chucks again at right tackle, or if you want to move Chucks over to left tackle and sign a tackle eventually, whether that's left or right, more so left, in my opinion, and then put Banner as the right tackle. With his cost, I'm sure he's going to be the starter. Whether I agree with it or not, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean we've seen very little of Banner.
Yeah, he did beat out Chucks to be the Week 1 starter, but again, he suffered that ACL injury. Now, I remember that game very specifically. He didn't look too good in pass protection, but he did look very, very well in run blocking. He's a better run blocker than a pass blocker in general. So I think that's one of the reasons why we resigned him, because the Steelers have said numerous times they are looking to revamp and give Ben a rushing game. And Banner does help with that because he's a better run blocker than a pass blocker.
Of course. Now, I'd put him at right tackle just because he's a better scheme fit. He's more comfortable there. He's more athletic there. And that's weird saying athletic because Banner isn't all that athletic because of his size. Banner could be moved over to left tackle. Again, they could draft an offensive tackle, left or right, specifically left in my opinion.
Or maybe
to eventually grow and take over that left tackle spot.
Yeah, or maybe with Chucks being in his last year of his rookie contract, maybe they want to move him at left tackle and see if he can live up to a possible extension next year.
It might be a better fit because he might be more athletically fitted there at left tackle.
And he did play left tackle in college, correct me if I'm wrong.
And I do believe this does push offensive tackle back a little bit, unless a specific guy drops like a Christian Darrisaw, which I doubt. But I think this pushes offensive tackle on the back burner in the draft, possibly day 3, early day 3,
yes.
Round 4 specifically, in my opinion.
I definitely think we should address tackle, but I agree with you. I don't think we're going to address it too early, unless there is someone that we just cannot pass up on.
But in a way, I kind of disagree with that because it seems like they're putting all their eggs in one basket on Banner and Chucks, two guys that battled for right tackle. One guy that beat him out but got injured week 1, and someone that took over for him, Chucks, and arguably didn't look too great last year.
No.
And now you might move him to left tackle, which may or may not fit him well. We don't know. And then you're going to wait to draft offensive tackle. Because now you have running back to address, which they're going to draft running back very early, rounds 1 or 2, in my opinion. You got to draft center. Inside linebackers arguably a need. You met with some of the top ones. Corner's probably a top need. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you haven't even signed a corner yet. I kind of was hoping that the Steelers would go out their way and sign a outside or slot corner.
Specifically a slot corner. Put Sutton outside, and we even put it on Twitter. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at SteelTwins for updates or opinions on free agency and initial thoughts on stuff. I think the Steelers should give an offer to Brian Poole.
Yeah, Jets defensive back, former Falcons defensive back. The guy, another one, an undrafted free agent. Keep in mind, when he went undrafted in 2016, the Steelers did reach out to him and give him an offer. But he decided to go with the Atlanta Falcons because he had familiarity, I think that's how you say it, with Dan Quinn.
Yes. So I'd bring in Brian Poole. Give him a contract offer. He's still a free agent. He's a very underrated slot guy that can do pretty much everything that Mike Hilton can do. He's
an open field tackler. The guy can blitz. He's not too bad in coverage, and the guy has an eye for the ball. and he would fill that void.
And he's fucking physical.
He would fill that void at slot corner.
That's what I would do, and that would open a little bit more flexibility. That way you can go offensive tackle a little bit more earlier. Or even inside linebacker a little bit more earlier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the Steelers are kind of delaying some options here.
And that could be because of our cap situation, potentially. But if that's the case, then you got to do some restructures. Because considering that it has been announced that there will be 17 games from now on for the NFL and the season coming up, you got to make some restructures now. Because we were saying restructure to it, but because of there was like something with his contract.
Or the former CBA.
Yeah.
Because he signed that deal with the former CBA. Now we're obviously in a new one. There's some sort of issues there. I don't know all about that.
But now that 17 games are official, you can finally work out something with Tua's contract. You can restructure some of it. And you can still do maybe Boswell or whoever else that you want to restructure.
And that way you can go out and sign a Carl Joseph or, in my opinion, a Brian Poole, which fills two great voidable positions on the secondary. Just me. And that way you can add a little bit more flexibility earlier in the draft for a running back, for offensive tackle, for inside linebacker, for center. That's just me.
Yeah.
So I don't hate the Zach Banner re-sign. We all expected it. This guy lives and breathes Pittsburgh. You might as well say he's a Yinzer at this point.
Oh, he definitely is.
And he's going to be the starting, in my opinion, right tackle. Where we put Chucks, I don't know. He might battle with Chucks again for right tackle. We might put Chucks at left tackle.
Or again, whatever happens with Villanueva, that has yet to be.
I don't know.
Yet to be seen.
But
you know?
The offensive line is a very serious position they need to address. But it seems like they're trying to keep some of their older guys. Zach Banner they kept. They still have faith in Chucks, which he's coming to his last year. I say give him one more chance. You signed B.J. Finney back, really? And now you're trying to get Villanueva back? It seems like they're just band-aiding the situation. You know what I mean?
The offensive line, in reality, they need to revamp that whole thing. They need to get it young because you're bringing back 39-year-old Ben Roethlisberger, who clearly, as he gets older, gets more hurt.
Yeah.
You got to keep that line young. You got to protect the man.
And you got to get the line better to help out the rushing game.
Because I don't want to have flashbacks of Ben Roethlisberger back in 2011 running for his damn life at 39 years old because he ain't going to get away from these fast-ass linebackers and pass rushers nowadays.
Especially in the AFC North, not at all.
And if Ben goes down, then you might as well say we're fucked. Because I don't think anyone's really going to care about Mason Rudolph stepping in or even Dwayne Haskins with how he was with the football team.
Well, you could say we're fucked either way with Ben at quarterback just because I don't think we're going to win the Super Bowl this
year. Exactly. So it's like, come on, man. Like, you know you got to revamp that whole offensive line, and it's just like you said, they're putting a Band-Aid on the situation. You can't do that.
And I know they're tough in cap. That's why they had to cut starters like Williams and Nelson, which I understand. That's fine. And if you want to address that in the draft, sure. But, you already re-signed Sutton. Put him outside. Sign a guy like Brian Poole. Put him in the slot. That cancels out corner. And then you can address inside linebacker if you want to. If not, Spillane is a decent guy. Yeah. He could be another Vince Williams type of player.
Yeah, if you want, you can fill that void with inside linebacker with Spillane. That's fine, because when he stepped in for Bush, he was pretty talented. He was pretty fine. And as a number two, I think that fits him best anyway.
Oh, of course.
He's not a number one, so as a number two, that fits him best. Then you can focus on running back because you need to give Ben a rushing game.
And the offensive line.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. That's what I think the Steelers should do, considering that the draft is literally, 28 days away.
Literally.
So
4 weeks away from today.
So we kind of need to, get it going in free agency because right now all we're doing is signing depth guys, as we'll get into right now. Steelers signed safety/linebacker Dimebacker and Miles Killebrew, linebacker Jarvis Miller, wide receiver Matthew Sexton, wide receiver Tyler Simmons, running back Kalen Ballage, and offensive lineman Rashad Coward. All the one-year deals. The way I see it from these guys, they're nothing but depth signings and camp bodies.
Which is expected from the Steelers when it comes to free agency. They're just depth signings and camp bodies. Sexton and Simmons, both wide receivers, are similar stories. They both went undrafted last year. They were invited to their school's pro days this year to test. Like for Simmons, he came from Georgia, went undrafted. He was with the Texans initially last year for the practice squad. And then he was invited back to the Georgia pro day this year, tested pretty well. Of course, Colbert and company was there. They grabbed him up, signed him. They liked what he saw. He could possibly fight for the number 6 wide receiver position.
Possibly,
and same thing for Sexton. He came from Eastern Michigan, but he was actually invited to the Michigan State Pro Day. He actually ran a 4.340. He's a return specialist, 5'9", 176, I think. But he's a return specialist at best.
Yeah.
And that's probably where he's going to have to try to find some actual success there.
Yeah, and playing time, if he even makes it to the roster, you know?
Kalen Ballage is nothing more than a Wendell Smallwood / Trey Edmonds type of signing for the running back position.
Yeah.
Rashad Coward sucks.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of this depth signing.
I've seen his tape with the Bears. He was a former defensive end out of Old Dominion. He went undrafted, and then Matt Nagy switched him to offensive line, and quite frankly, from the tape that I saw and Bears fans judging him, he doesn't look too great.
No, people are saying he's like the worst offensive lineman he's seen. Now, granted, yeah, he was an undrafted defensive lineman turned offensive lineman by Matt Nagy, go figure. I get that. You know, he was bound to fail there. I get that. But the Steelers picking him up, it might be a project for Adrian Clem, maybe, but I see him more than just one depth, two inactive for most games. I just pray he doesn't see the field. This guy sucks. And so does offensive tackle / offensive guard Joe Haig. They signed him to a 2-year, $4.6 million deal. He's a very versatile signing for depth on the offensive line. I get that. He's just not the greatest offensive lineman.
No,
I just pray he doesn't see the field.
I honestly see him as another Matt Fielder, probably a little worse, because I remember when he stepped in for the Bucs offensive line when one of their linemen got hurt. They actually had to revamp the offensive line because Haig was not doing too good.
No.
So the way I see it, I get their depth. And yes, we need depth. Our depth was not too great with the amount of free agents we had. Yes, we needed depth, but it's not great depth. These guys just don't live up to their depth caliber-like status.
Right. So, and that goes the same with what we said with they're just kind of band-aiding the situation with offensive line and keeping some of their guys. You know, some of the guys were hurt last year. So now you're going to, you know, have these guys back them up. Let's pray they don't see the field. That's just me. I mean, they're depth signings. That's all. I'm just not impressed with it. You know, I just pray they don't see the field. That's all.
No, same here.
Haig is a versatile guy. He can play guard. He can play tackle if needed. He could be kind of like that Gerald Hawkins type of role. He plays as the extra tight end in certain goal line packages. That's fine there.
Yeah, you work him there. You know, that works fine. But if he has to be in there as a starter, you know, I'm not too keen on that.
Right.
I'm really not.
And, of course, Miles Killebrew is nothing more than one depth and a special teams ace since Jordan Dangerfield's probably gone.
More than likely,
so
yeah.
Good. I like that signing there. He's fast. He's physical. Former safety turned linebacker. Now, when the Steelers tweeted about this signing, they noted him as a defensive back. So they might put him as a safety since we already have Marcus Allen as that former safety / linebacker role, maybe.
A special teams core player, so
I'm going to add that, but Killebrew is nothing more than a special teams ace. Great special teams ace. He was actually top 10 in special teams tackles last year. So good on that. It helps special teams a lot.
Yeah. But those are the guys that we signed. Overall, you know, obviously it's depth signings, but I'm just not too keen on it.
As for, we're going to continue the signings to finish out here. Chris Wormley resigns with the Steelers on a 2-year, $4.5 million deal. I like this.
No, we needed depth on the defensive line, and Wormley, for depth, he's pretty talented.
He's pretty good. You know, he's just been under a lot of stacked D-line through the years with the Ravens and now with the Steelers. But, you know, I like him as depth.
Yeah.
He's young. He's experienced. Solid.
Right.
Solid depth.
Now, I did note this concern that originally Tyson Alualu agreed to a 2-year, $6 million deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was looking looking like he was going to go back to the team that initially drafted him back in 2010.
But
the Jacksonville Jaguars.
But an interesting twist happened. A very, very interesting twist.
He actually had a positive COVID test, so he was not able to travel to Jacksonville and sign the contract. So throughout that time, he would actually have a change of heart. And with the courage and the help of his teammates and even defensive line coach Carl Dunbar, he decided to stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 2-year deal worth less money, $5.5 million deal with $1.925 million guaranteed. So
yes.
it was never about money.
Yeah, I mean, Tyson Alualu, initially when he signed with the Jags, this was another big loss because he was one of those guys that helped the rushing defense a lot. And when we saw we were going to lose Mike Hilton and Vince Williams, and even Bud Dupree, all within 24 hours, I was like, man, that rushing defense is kind of gonna lack a little bit. We don't have that hard-nosed D tackle to fill in the gaps. Sure, we're gonna have Bud Dupree back. We could have Devin Bush. We could have Spillane fill in that Vince Williams role. They're kind of similar in rushing defense, although Vince Williams at one point led the league in tackles for loss because of that great rushing defense.
Of course.
And, of course, Bud Dupree, you know, being lost, Ken Highsmith bring that same level of pressure and rushing defense that Dupree did. And if not, we might have to run some blitz packages to help out the pass rush and rushing defense a little bit. But it's kind of hard to do that without a guy like Mike Hilton.
Yeah.
But now with the addition of Tyson Alualu back, with him re-signing, that, brightens the mood a little bit.
Yes, it
That
does.
actually helps out a lot.
And it's quite a major deal for the nose tackle position, because when it was reported that Alualu agreed to a 2-year deal with the Jags and us re-signing Wormley, it looked like Wormley was about to get the opportunity at nose tackle.
That's all what we all thought, yeah.
But then with Alualu coming back, you still keep Wormley as a depth piece, and Alualu, after filling in for Javon Hargrave last year, he freaking...
Oh, he exceeded
was
expectations.
Great.
At 33, I believe, years old, exceeded expectations.
He was
like
great.
he found the fountain of youth. And I don't give a damn how old he is. He's still producing.
He never looked any better than he ever did in his career, man. And with a rushing attack in the AFC North, with the Ravens having J.K. Dobbins, and you got the Browns having Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and you got the Bengals with Joe Mixon, you need a great run-stuffing nose tackle, and Alualu is that.
So it was great to have him back, and it's very encourageable for him to, start thinking, have a change of heart because of the influence from our players, his teammates, and even our D-line coach, Dunbar. But even the fact that he built his dream home in Pittsburgh. His kids go to school there. The family loves it in Pittsburgh. So that all combined allowed him to make the decision that, hey, you know what?
I'm going to stay.
I'm going to
stay with the Steelers. They've revamped my career a lot, and I have something special here.
And I believe this completely takes out defensive line, erased completely as a draft need. Because we resigned Chris Wormley as depth. We got Alualu back as the starter. We got Bugs. We got Davis still. So I think that takes D-line completely out the picture for the draft.
It does.
So that adds a little bit more flexibility. So that's a good addition. Glad to have Alualu back and help out that big rushing defense a lot, especially like you said, a strong AFC North rushing game, which hopefully, we're at the bottom of the barrel, but hopefully we fix that for sure.
Yes, we do.
Now, of course, we're going to close out with what was probably the biggest name for the Steelers when it comes to free agents was JuJu Smith-Schuster. I'll tell you what. At the start, I didn't care if JuJu stayed or not because I knew we could replace him. But if he stayed, hey, that's great. JuJu's a team player.
Of course. But
I didn't think he was a team player of this caliber.
No.
This dude turned down contracts from the Eagles.
Well, which I can't blame him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
From the Ravens, which offered him, I believe, the most money.
And he said that they made a really, really strong push within the last couple hours to try to sign him.
And last but not least, pretty much a guaranteed Super Bowl run with the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. All of them were long-term, big money deals. But he turned all that down to re-sign with the Steelers for 1 year, $8 million, with, I believe, 4 avoidable years.
And I think this year he's only making about, or the cap hit is about what, like 1.7 or maybe
Something
about
like
2
that.
million? So
this is an incredibly team-friendly deal from
it's
JuJu.
a cheap-ass deal.
It's an absolute steal to have a slot guy like JuJu Smith-Schuster back in this offense for that cheap of a deal. And that goes to show you the type of player, the team player, the heart, and the loyalty JuJu has. Now, yes, next year we're gonna have some pretty we're gonna have a little bit more breathing / wiggle room in cap next year. He's gonna get his contract next year, which that was probably an influence in him coming back.
Yeah.
He's gonna get that one last ride, quote unquote, with Ben this year.
Which
I can take a team friendly deal to keep some of the guys we have.
Yeah.
And next year, when we have more breathing room in cap, he's going to get his payday.
He absolutely is, without a doubt.
But that's something you rarely see from these guys. They take team-friendly deals when they understand, hey, next year, I'm going to get my bag.
Right.
And that was JuJu, man. That's why we appreciate and love JuJu.
And respect the hell out of JuJu, man. And the thing about today's NFL is loyalty. You rarely, very rarely see loyalty from any player.
Very rarely.
You rarely see a Larry Fitzgerald type of loyalty in today's NFL. You rarely see that. But JuJu has that. And that I can appreciate and love and respect the fuck, excuse my language, out of JuJu because of that. The fact that he turned down the fucking Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, come on. Are you serious?
Instead, he decided to stay with the team that drafted him. He decided to stay with the quarterback that he fucking loves and wants to play with. And although I don't see us going far this season, but I can appreciate him wanting to stay and trying to fight and play and win a Super Bowl with his quarterback, Big Ben.
I take loyalty, very, very serious when it comes to the Steelers. it's like you said, it's a rarity in today's day and age. It shows you the true character that they have when it comes to these colors and to this uniform. You know, seeing that in JuJu, man, that made us all appreciate and love JuJu even more so.
And you look at the other wide receiver deals that were signed in free agency. You know, even Tyler Lockett, he got extended. He's getting like what, 14, 15 some $million a year.
But you see that this guy,
and you got Kenny Golladay, who signed a boatload of money. You got Will Fuller, who's got more money. You got freaking Nelson Aguilar, who got more goddamn money.
Corey Davis, all that. But JuJu took so much less to stay with the team.
And JuJu's,
I'm sorry, if you don't appreciate that, then I don't know if you're even a breathing human.
And JuJu's just as good as those guys, maybe a little bit better. This deal is a fucking steal.
And I know some of you guys are saying, you know, loyalty was never an issue with JuJu. It was more so the fact that we could have gotten rid of him and kept some of our guys. That's not true.
That's not what the money he took and the cap hit that we're having this year with his contract. That is not true at all.
It's like when JuJu's news came out, immediately came the Nelson news. We're like, oh, wow, we're going to keep JuJu over Steven Nelson. Really? That's not the case.
No.
Because the deal that JuJu took, very team-friendly. We could have kept Nelson if we wanted to. But obviously that was... I don't think it was a cap casualty. First of all, the Steelers can't be that stupid. And seeing what Nelson tweeted and what happened was just odd and confusing. I think Nelson pushed his way out, honestly.
He might have. I don't know.
And when you look at that possibility and seeing what JuJu did and what he took, JuJu's more appreciative. He's more loyal. He's more the type of guy you want to keep on this team.
Yeah.
Honestly. And
Absolutely,
seeing how we resigned Sutton and knowing he can take over the number 2 role, seeing Nelson leave is just like, okay, bye. See you later.
You know, thanks for everything, you know, but, you know,
see ya.
Don't let the door hit you don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
Right.
You know?
So I look at it that way. I don't look at this JuJu resigning being like, oh, wow, we kept him over these guys. I don't look at it that way just because of the contract he took. Seriously. And the cap he's having this year. That's all. That's all I see from it.
I agree.
Freaking love JuJu, man. We all should. Anyway, guys, that is our, for now, free agency, Steelers free agency thoughts. Again, we were going to wait this out a little bit to see if they would still make some moves like we said, maybe a Carl Joseph if they actually keep him. In our opinion, a Brian Poole, guys like that, possibly some extra depth signings. But we just had to get this video out because, one, we were too impatient. We were tired of waiting, and we got to get a new mock out. It's mock month.
Yeah.
You know, we originally said in a live stream we did a few weeks back, we were going to get a mock out the last day of March, which is March 31st, which is technically yesterday. But we obviously didn't do that because we were holding out for more news when it came to Steelers free agency. But
there really hasn't been.
It's dragging at this point.
And it's nothing but depth guys. I don't think anyone really gives a shit about depth guys. You know, we want to see more known name guys possibly coming in for a visit, like Carl Joseph.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
And I'm going to refresh Twitter one more time to see if there is any news. There is not.
So there's no news throughout the, 44 minutes we've been recording?
Essentially.
Or whatever.
But nonetheless, guys, let us know your guys' thoughts down below about all the resignings and all that good stuff there. If I don't want to give it a grade, but if I had to give it my full, complete thoughts, we all knew this was a very important offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was very important on many levels. Obviously, Ben's coming back. Fine, sure. But we had to surround him with helping characters, helping talent, and which we kind of did. We got JuJu back. I don't think they're really helping the offensive line too much to the point that we all expected. You know, they're kind of just trying to keep their guys they had last year, which I don't agree with.
No.
Some parts I do, some parts I don't. But they're just trying to get some of these familiar names and trying to Band-Aid the situation, in my opinion. And they're kind of holding off for offensive line a little later. Center, I get you got to wait till round 2 because they're not one center to draft in round 1. But offensive tackle, which is stacked, I get if you want to wait a little bit because offensive tackle is so stacked. But even that, I still think you could go offensive tackle a little bit more earlier. That's why I want them to go after and get some of these more depth/starting pieces on this defense to gain a little bit more flexibility for later in the draft.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts.
No, I agree. I agree 100%, you know.
But let us know your guys' thoughts down below, man. We'll be back with another mock draft. Our first mock draft after free agency this Wednesday.
April 7th.
You can expect that this Wednesday. Now, what the mock schedule is going to be. There could be a mock every Wednesday leading up into the NFL draft for draft month. In fact, now that I think about it, that might be the scenario. Since it's draft month.
Right.
Might as well come out with a mock every week. If not, then we'll update you guys on Twitter at SteelTwins. We'll have initial thoughts on other signings that the Steelers will have, which will be made, I'm sure, after this video is uploaded. And, of course, channel updates and news around the NFL and stuff like that. So you guys can follow us there on Twitter at SteelTwins. Of course, check out the merch. I know we don't pitch it in as much as we should, and we will have a new design up very shortly. If you guys watched the live stream we did a few weeks back, you guys kind of already have a clue of what it is. But if not, hey, you're just going to have to wait a little bit. But I'm sure you guys will love it because it is something we got to fix in this draft, in this offseason. And I think it's just a brilliant shirt just because of one of his famous moments here on the channel.
Yes, it is. But if you want to get some SteelTwins merch, you can definitely go on ahead. Shop.spreadshirt.com/SteelTwins. Go on ahead, get your SteelTwins merch. And before we get out of here, I do want to give a shout-out to the Dreadmen for giving me the courage to buy this Steelers World Order t-shirt. If you want one, I'll put the link down in the description below so you can order one. Yet again, huge shout-out to the Dreadmen, man. Thank you a lot.
Definitely, and they look much better in person.
It really does.
And we are not collabed by them whatsoever. It's just a really cool shirt.
No, I really like it.
Just perfect. SWO. It's perfect. So... But anyway, guys, let us know your guys' thoughts down below, man. Here we go, Steelers. Let's see what they do in the next coming days and weeks leading up into the NFL draft. And again, you guys can expect mock drafts, I'd say every Wednesday for draft month.
Yes.
It's officially draft month. Let's go. Let's see what happens. See you guys in the next one.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you later.
Peace!